Hello people. So during most Linux installation procedures, you're asked to assign a password to the root user, meant to be for the system administration. Then you might be asked to create a username of your choice and assign a password to that as well. And then you use this username for the everyday computer use. My advice is to always log in as a regular user and only su or sudo to the root account when necessary. Once Linux is installed, you can use commands or graphical tools to add more users, to modify user accounts and assign and change passwords. By default, Ubuntu enhances security by disabling logins as root. Instead, during the installation procedure, you set up a user with a password who can perform administrative functions. On Ubuntu, use the sudo command to perform individual commands as the root users. The sudo command prompts for the administrative password, which is usually the password you assign to your user, but you can change it later to a different one. This way you avoid typing some command as root that you did not intend. For the Ubuntu desktop systems with a graphical user interface, you can manage users and groups with the user manager window. You just go to System, Administration, and then in Users and Groups, you can add users and change passwords and group permissions and everything. So when we're managing user accounts for servers, one option is to use web-based graphical user interfaces. The most commonly used general purpose tool is called WebMin. This is the web page. Make sure you do not run WebMin on its default port, which I think it is 10,000. Don't do this just because of security reasons. Just change it. You can also use special purpose web interfaces. These are paid. For example, there are many web hosting automation graphical user interfaces such as cPanel and Plesk. Now, to add new users, you can use the UserAdd command. The only option that is required to add a new user is the username that you're adding. You can see some of the default settings for adding a new user by entering the -d option. So if you type UserAdd -D, it's gonna show you the default values. So here we have that this is gonna set the group ID to be 100. This one says that it's gonna set the base home directory to be home. This -1 here says that expiration is disabled. Expire here is in blank because if you don't set a date here, the account won't be disabled. You can say here that the account will expire on December 2014, for example. Shell sets the default shell to be bin bash in this case. Bin bash. This option here means that it's gonna copy the config files from this directory to the home folder and create mail spool. Well, you can choose yes or no. It's gonna create a mail spool directory as you want. So Ubuntu and other Debian systems override the default group, which is 100, and create a new group for every user. By default, the user ID assigned to the first user created is 1000, and the group ID is also 1000. The group name is the same as the username. The home directory is the username appended to home. So if your username is going to be Peter, for example, then the home folder is going to be in home/Peter folder. So for example, if you create, if you created the first regular user account on the system as follows: sudo user add -m Peter. So the result would be a new user account with the Peter username, user ID 1001, and Peter group name, which we have an identifier of 1001. The -m option tells the user add command to create a home directory of home/Peter and copy a set of configuration files to the home directory from the /etc/scale folder that we saw before. The account would remain active indefinitely without expiration date, and then you can add the password here. And in most cases, that's all you need to do to have a working user account. So now that we have our new user created, we need to assign a password for that user, and for that you type sudo pass wd Peter, and then you type in your password. Remember to use a strong password, non-dictionary based password. That's a security problem if you use weak passwords. So there are many options you can enter to override the defaults when you create a user, and you can combine different options as you choose. Let me show you some examples here. So you can type sudo user add -u 1101 -g 60 -m Peter 2. Sorry, let me just change that. So what this command is going to do is going to assign a specific user ID 1201 and a specific group ID 60 to the user Peter 2. So another option, for example, is use user add sudo user add -m -d /home to Peter 3. So this option, what it's gonna do, as you know, M is to create the home directory, but in this case it's gonna say that the home directory is, instead of being Peter 3, just like the username, is gonna be G. You can also do -m capital G and test games to Peter 4. So this is gonna create a user called Peter 4, and it's gonna assign this user to the groups test and games. let's just change. You need to add the group before the user. So let's just use an existing group. So another option will be to do user add -c Twitter 5 Twitter 5. So the -c option, what it's gonna do is gonna add the full name to the comment field. So this full name to the comment field from this user. Then you can also do user add -s/bin/sh to Twitter 6, and this is gonna assign a new default shell for this user. Here you can just replace this for the shell you want to use for that user. So you can also apply the -e and 2014 -12-01 to the user Peter 7. This -e option is saying that this new account will expire on December the 1st of the year 2014. For temporary, if you want to add some temporary user accounts, you can also do user add -f0 Peter 8. And this option, what it's gonna do is gonna create a disabled account. So the account will exist, but it's gonna be disabled until you enable it. So you can also user add -s/sbin/login Peter 9. So the -s with this folder here, this file option is gonna keep the user from shelling in. So this user will have FTP and or other services, the default services, but it's not gonna be able to shell into the system. And if you want to just create a user without a home folder, you type sudo user add 10 without any option, just the user add. That's gonna create the user without the folder, as we can see here, for example. So the default values you get when you create a new user account with the user add command are set by values in two files. One is let's take a look at it, etc login defs here. The other one is default user add. So these two files, you can edit those files to change defaults, or you can run the user add command with the -D option to list or selectively change values. So if you say user add -D, you have the default options, but then you can also change that from the command line. Say type in sudo user add -D -B home 2-s bin sch, and this is gonna set the default base directory and shell for all the new users. You can also say, for example, capital T, capital E, 2015 1-01, and this option is gonna set all the new user accounts to expire in 2015. So as noted earlier, files and directories from the etc scale, from this directory, etc scale directory, are copied to the new user's home directory when the account is created, when you pass the -m option. Those files include some bash shell files and a link to an example directory. You can add other files and directories to this folder here so that each new user gets them. For example, if you are configuring a web server, you might create a public HTML and a public FTP directories for users to add web pages and files that they want to share. Now, after a user account is created, you can change values for that account with the usermod command. Most options are the same ones you would use with the user add. For example, let me show you first. If you use the command finger, you can get information about a specific user. So let's say finger Peter5. You need to install the finger command. Peter5, we see here that his name is Peter5 with a number, and his shell is /bin/csh. So with the usermod command, you can change those parameters and say, for example, sudo usermod -c Peter5 to the Peter5 user. And you can also say usermod -s/bin/sh to Peter5. And now if you go and type finger again for that user, you're gonna see that now his shell is bin/sh and his name is Peter5. Now, with this command, you can also lock and unlock a user account. To do this, you type sudo usermod -L Peter5, the username, and this is gonna lock that user account. If you want to unlock it, then you use the capital U, and now the account is unlocked. Now, locking a user account does not remove the user's account from the system or delete any of the user files and directories. However, it does keep the user from logging in. So once unlocked, the user's password is also restored. Sometimes maybe you have to add a -p command to the usermod command before the U. You need to check depending on your system. So as I said, once unlocked, the user's password is also restored. So a new password doesn't have to be assigned if the same user is to resume using the account. Locking an account can be useful if an employee is leaving the company, but the work in that employee's files needs to be passed to another person. Under those circumstances, locking the user instead of deleting it prevents the files owned by that user from appearing as belonging to an unassigned user ID. With the user-del command, you can remove user accounts from the system as well as other files if you choose. So let's see some examples. You can say sudo userdel Peter5. Now this command is gonna delete the user, but it's not gonna delete the user's home directory. So let's just make sure, for example, that the home directory exists. Peter, it doesn't exist, so let's just delete Peter4 in this case. So sudo userdel Peter4. You can delete this user, but the user's home directory will still exist. And there you have it. Now, if what you want to do is to delete, when you delete the user, you want to delete his home directory, mail spool files, and so on, then you have to use the -r option. So you do sudo userdel -r and Peter2. And with this, it's gonna delete the home folder and the mail spool, but in this case we don't have a mail spool folder, so it didn't delete it. But if you list the home folder again, you're gonna see that the Peter2 folder no longer exists. So keep in mind that removing a user's home directory with userdel does not remove other files owned by that user in other locations of the system. So when you do a long listing of the files that were owned by the deleted user, you will see that the user ID and the group ID appear as the owner of the file. Adding or changing a password is usually done quite simple with the password or passwd command. However, there are additional options available with password that let an administrator manage such things as user account locking, password expiration, and warnings to change passwords. In addition to the password command, there are commands such as change, chfn, and vipw for working with user passwords. Regular users can change only their own passwords, whereas the root user can change the password for any user. So, for example, a regular user like this one now, I'm logged in as UHDDI. If I want to change my password, I just type the password command and I press enter. So as you see here, even when you are logged in, you must type the current password before entering a new one. Also, password keeps a regular user from setting a password that is too short, that is based on a dictionary word, or which doesn't have enough different characters, or is otherwise easy to guess. So, for example, if I type a short password or something, no, actually now I have to type my current password, and now, so I'm going to enter the new password. If I type something easy to guess like 1, 2, 3, 4, it's gonna warn me and tell me that you need to choose a longer password. So let's just choose another one, long enough, and now it's working without any problems. So the suggestion usually is that you should the password should be at least 8 characters long. It should be a combination of letters and other characters like numbers, punctuation, etc. They shouldn't include real words. You should make passwords easy to remember but hard to guess. and a system administrator can use password to lock and unlock user accounts as well. So, for example, as sudo with administrative privileges, I can change -L Peter 5 password. So this command is gonna lock the password for the user Peter 5. So you use reset. Sorry, I forgot the password command. So now the password is locked. Now, if you want to unlock it, you just need to replace the L with a U, and it's going to unlock the password. Now, the other thing is that if you have an account, if you created an account and you didn't set a password for it, for example, let's just create an account, Peter 11. So we just created a user Peter 11, but we didn't set a password for it. So if you lock this account, -L Peter 11, now it's locked. But if you try to unlock it, it's gonna fail. So, because it's gonna create a userless account, so it won't let you do it. If you type sudo password -U Peter 11, it's gonna tell you that it cannot unlock that account. Now, locking a user account with the password command causes an exclamation mark to be placed at the front of the password field in the etc shadow file. This file is the one which contains where all the passwords are stored. Let's just take a look at it. etc shadow. So, for example, as you can see here, Peter 5 user, the Peter 5 user has this password, encrypted, of course. So let's just lock the account. See what happens with the exclamation mark. Now let's take a look again. So here, as you can see, the exclamation mark is placed at the beginning of the password. So when you unlock the account, the exclamation mark is removed, and the user's previous password is restored. An administrator can use the password command to require users to change password regularly, as well as warn users when passwords are about to expire. To use the password expiration feature, the user account needs to have had the password expiration enabled. The following examples will use the password command to modify the password expiration. So let's just go back. So we type sudo pass command -n and say to Peter. So in this case, Peter will have to wait at least 2 days before changing to a new password. Now, if you type -x 200 Peter here, the user Peter must change the password within 200 days. Now, if we type -w 10 Peter. Yeah, the user is warned 10 days before the password expires. And as the last example, if you type -I 15 Peter, the user account will be disabled 15 days after the password expires. And of course, you can combine all these options together. So you can say sudo password -I 15 -n2 and space 2 -x space 200 and -w15. Sorry. Here. And there it is. So now to view the password expiration info, you can use the change command. So how do you use the change command? You need to do it as a super user, so you need to type sudo change -l on the username, and here we have all the information we need. You can also use the change command to manage password expiration. Besides being able to set minimum, maximum, and warning days of password expiration, change can also set the day when a user must set a new password or a particular date the account becomes inactive. So let's see some examples. So if you type sudo change -l 40 Peter, this is gonna make the Peter account inactive in 40 days. And if you type -d 5 Peter, it's gonna force this user password to expire in 5 days. Now, if instead of 5 here in the -d option, if instead of 5 you set that option to 0, it's gonna cause the user to have to set a new password the next time he or she logs in. Now let's talk about working with groups. As you know, each new user is assigned to one or more groups. You can create groups at any time and add users to those groups. And remember, as I told you before, if you want to add the user to a specific group, that group needs to exist. So the permissions that each group has to use files and directories in Linux depend on how the group permissions bits are set on each item. Assigning users to a group allows you to attach ownership to files, directories, and applications so that those users can work together on a project or have common access to resources. Commands similar to those for working with users are available for managing your groups. You can add groups with the group add command. You can change group settings with the group mod command. You can delete groups with the group del command, and you can add and delete members from those groups. So let's see some examples. So if you want to create a new group with the next group ID available, you just type sudo group add marketing. Let's create a group called marketing, and that's it. It's done. We created one group. Well, now if you want to assign a specific group ID to a new group that you are creating, then you type sudo group add -g, and then you set the group ID you want for the group you are creating and the group name. And now you created the sales group with a group ID 1800. Now, if you want to create a group with an existing group ID, then you type sudo group add -o space -g to create the group with a specific ID, for example 74 my SSHD, and that's it. Now, with the group mode command, you can change the name or group ID of an existing group. So let's see some examples here. So if you type sudo group mode -g -490 marketing, you're gonna change you're gonna cause the marketing group to use the group ID for 19, and that's it. And if you want to change the name of a group for something different, you can do sudo group mode -n. So you type the new name, marketing 1, and the old name, and this is gonna change the marketing group, and from now on it's gonna be called marketing 1. That's it. To remove an existing group, you can use the group del. On this video about working with users and groups. I hope it helped. Sudo group del marketing 1, and that's it. The group no longer exists. Now, keep in mind that removing a group or user doesn't remove the files, directories, or devices or other items owned by that group or user. If you do a long listing of a file or directory assigned to a user or group that was deleted, the user ID or group ID of the deleted user or group is displayed. So this is all.